in a lot of ways, it was not what I expected. And in a lot of ways, it was way more than what I expected. And so when I went to Muti and I saw with my own eyes what the sponsorship does for these girls, how it's supported and where it's actually going, I knew at that moment, I knew that this is why I'd never had sponsored a compassion child. It was because I'm supposed to sponsor a Muti child. And so, like I said, there's a lot of things I learned. I knew I'd get on that plane one way and I'd come home a completely different way. I loved every minute of it. Lots of lessons, lots of surprises. I love Muti and everything that they do for all these women and children. It's remarkable. If you ever get an opportunity to go, you've got to go because it will change your world. Because it changed mine. We were able to go see the Pearls of Muti, which is the craft shop and where all the projects happen. It was amazing what they've done. Even from when we went in January 2020, it looks completely different. These women just have a passion for making these beautiful things. I mean, they even had iPad covers. Like, that was impressive to me. When we were there were, I would say they were like middle-aged women and even some older women. I didn't see any young girls there because, they're in school or college. I will say for me, when I went over for the first time in 2020 before COVID happened, I was doing some counseling with the girls, and I'd never done international counseling before, never had an interpreter before. So that was a bit of a challenge. And I remember this one girl, she didn't speak English. I didn't speak Marathi. And so I had to rely on the interpreter. And I could see with the things I was asking or saying, this girl, she had tears just welling up in her eyes, but she would not release them. And I could tell there was just something there with her. So I told the social worker about it. I'm like, hey, this girl that I counseled there, you might want to keep an eye on her because, something's definitely going on. And later that same day, after we did devotions, I started giving piggyback rides to all the girls. This girl came up and I just understood enough that she wanted a piggyback ride. And that's what I did. And she smiled and she loved it. And that was it. I never, COVID happened. So I didn't know when we would go back to India. And so when we went back in October and I saw Saroj, the social worker, one of the first things she told me, she said, Meg, you remember so-and-so? I'm like, who? She's like, it was the girl that was crying. You were helping her. I said, oh, and she said her name. And I was like, oh, I remember. How is she? She said, it's not even the same girl. She is laughing and she is smiling and connecting with people. I mean, this girl didn't have any eye contact with me at all. She wasn't connecting with people. I would love to see her. As soon as she saw me, her face lit up. Saroj told me, she said, because you came to us and said there's something, we were able to keep an eye on her. And she is now with a house mother that she trusts and she can share part of her story with. And there has been so much healing. I'm sorry.